Thank you for joining us, Annabel. It's so nice of you to give up your time to talk to us. And I know we previously met at one of our Be Social events, and you like joining up and meeting and talking to lots of other purposeful businesses. So it'd just be really great to hear a little bit more about your role, your career to date, and also, your role at Storyhouse and what actually drew you to the Storyhouse. Just a sort of overview would be lovely.
Of course. So I'm the chief executive at Storyhouse, and I've been in post since the end of October last year. So yeah, part of the reason I was really keen to come out and meet you is that I'm new to Chester as well as being new to Storyhouse. So really keen to try and connect and meet lots of people kind of outside the building. And that's, I guess, in answer to your question about what drew me here, the building is kind of part of it, really. It is
Yeah.
such a phenomenal space. And I think the way that the different elements of kind of theatre and library and the kind of cafe restaurant in the middle work, it is an incredible building to kind of work in. I've
Yeah.
only ever worked in art centres. I mean, I had part-time jobs when I was a student and things, but in my career, I've only ever worked in art centres, so spaces that have, more than one performance or kind of activity space, organisations that are very community facing, that present kind of a whole range of art forms. I've never worked in a pure theatre or a pure gallery. So, I've come to Storyhouse from a smaller but kind of similar art centre over in the northeast of England and worked in other art centres before that. And I think for me, the magic of spaces like Storyhouse, and we sort of describe ourselves as a independent art centre and creative hub, is the breadth of the offer means we have something to offer lots of different people. And it's when different people get together that the kind of magic really happens.
Yeah.
So, as you know, I've mentioned kind of the building, that was a big part of why I chose to come here, and having a library as part of the mix is just amazing. It's such a gift to a building like this, because people know that libraries are accessible, they know that they're open, that they're free to kind of access. So actually that invitation to local people to just come in is there right from the beginning, simply by the fact it's kind of the central library.
Yeah.
I think the other things that attracted me, the scale of the organisation. There's not many art centres that are as big as Storyhouse, so the opportunity to run an organisation of this scale was exciting. I
Yeah.
think the age of the organisation, it's 7 years old. So that's actually really young. And if you take COVID years out, it's just starting school. It's about 5. So although it's been hugely successful, actually the potential is so much greater than what it's already achieved. So the age and the kind of the opportunity was a big draw. And then just that challenge to really extend the reach. Lots of people have found their way to Storyhouse, people that are attracted by arts and culture or attracted by the kind of the library offer. But I'm really interested in how we reach the people that think it isn't for them, and we give them a choice about coming here, and that means that we have to do different things.
We've held an event in your space as well, an internal communications event. It just felt like a really nice, different space to be able to offer people, and people who'd never been to the building before. Some of our clients are like, can't believe I don't spend more time in here. And, just actually showing them the different rooms, and every room's different, and it has got that kind of magic feel about it. And the fact that you do offer so many different clubs. You've got sort of your the theatre element, the cinema. I know, because as a child I just remember it as the old Odeon, and it
Yeah.
was just old Odeon. It was like, it was magical then because it was just part of my childhood. But now to think that I can take my daughter on Christmas Eve and go and watch The Wizard of Oz or something like that is so amazing for local people in the city who've lived here as Cestrians, but also people coming to the city. I know you've got like a Ukrainian board game group. It's a super inclusive space, and I know that's kind of what you want to grow and how you want to keep it growing. So I think that sort of magicness built in with the inclusivity and the kind of different services is like such a great offering to have. And with that in mind, obviously you want to maintain a really nice workplace culture at the Storyhouse. I know you have a mixture of sort of volunteers and other paid roles. So how do you do that, and how do you envision that, growing and improving as well?
Yeah, I mean, it is really important to us. First of all, we have a responsibility as an employer to look after our employees. So there's a sort of legal and moral responsibility there for wanting it to be a really super supportive workplace. But kind of beyond that, and I was saying this in a staff meeting earlier in the week, like our job is to give people a good time. Like literally, that is what we're here for. We're here to give people a good time. So if we're not having a good time ourselves, then we're
Yeah.
not really going to be extending the kind of welcome that you've just described. And I don't mean that, we're having parties here all the time, but actually, if we're not coming to work with a kind of spring in our step and that sense of like, aren't we lucky to work here? And like, enjoying the impacts that we're making and seeing the difference that, in kind of all of those different people that come in and use our spaces and access our activities. Like if we're not enjoying that ourselves, we're not going to be able to extend that warmth of welcome and that kind of supportive environment for the people. So the workplace culture is really important. We've been collecting some stories from people that engage with Storyhouse as participants, some of our volunteers, some of our audience members. And we captured a story from one of our members of staff, and she said that Storyhouse had allowed her to be who she is today. And it's not just the building or the organisation, it's the people in it. And she called her story My Safe Space.
Oh,
And I
I love.
think for me, that was just a beautiful summary of how we want everyone at Storyhouse to feel. And I'm not going to pretend that everyone feels like that every single day or all of the time, but we want all of our staff to feel like they can be themselves here, because it's that it goes it's the same with the kind of the communities and the people that we're engaging. It's when you get lots of different people together that things really kind of spark each other and make it a really exciting place to be. So we want
Yeah.
everyone to be able to bring their whole self to work, but just express themselves and feel like their colleagues have kind of got their back and will give them a bit of a lift on a bad day, and they'll help motivate people when they're having a good day. So that's how we want it to feel, exactly how we want it to feel for customers.
Not often do people really think about how their internal teams are feeling and behaving can have a massive impact on your guests or your clients, or the internal does feed so much into the external, because people do get a feel if they walk into a restaurant or a hotel and the staff aren't happy. You just immediately feel it. You just
Yeah.
completely feel it. And a lot of what we do at Entice Endorphin, particularly at Endorphin on the internal side of things, is really really talk to our clients about the importance of communication, whether it's workshops, focus groups, your comms throughout the week, your check-ins with employees and things like that, whether they are volunteers or whether paid members of staff. So how do you generally tend to communicate messages, or if you've got a big event going on, how does that work?
Yeah, it's a whole mix of things, as you'd expect. So we've got, just trying to remember the numbers. We've got 159 paid members of staff,
No way.
which is a lot of them are part time. So it's about 88 kind of full time equivalent, and over
Yeah.
200 volunteers.
Wow.
So it's a huge group. The opportunity to get them all together, as I'm sure you appreciate, is quite rare.
Yeah.
But we have a quarterly all staff meeting where we get as many people as we can together. And we
Great.
have a quarterly sort of social stroke meeting event for volunteers as well. And just that opportunity to kind of gather and celebrate is really important. In between, like a lot of businesses, quite a lot of work is done by email. So we email, we use, instant messaging and things a little bit. But I guess as chief executive, I just like to talk to people. And,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily sitting in formal meetings. I do sit in a lot of formal meetings, obviously. But actually, when I come in the morning, it's the little chat with the housekeeper. It's, just stopping to talk to the person who's on the customer service desk, see how it's going, what's the flow like
Yeah.
today, what kind of inquiries are we getting. You know, when I'm buying my coffee at in the kitchen, as we call a kind of restaurant cafe, having a chat to the staff. It's those kind of things that for me allow me to pick up on like the vibe of the organisation. How are people feeling?
Yeah.
Because all the communication that you can do, and you could be telling people all of the information to the sun, you know, it's how are they feeling? That's what's going to make a difference, I think. And
Yeah.
that's
And
feelings,
that's the
feelings
thing.
that power business in a way.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because when I've done, these kind of in talks with Endorphin chats before, I've spoken to heads of sort of internal comms from the BBC, from Talk, various different organisations, and they stressed massively the importance of getting leadership involved in the kind of feedback, the comms, and actually doing those floor walks. You can learn so much more from those than sitting in a board meeting,
Yeah.
actually doing those floor walks, getting leadership to come down and speak to, like you say, the cleaning team or the runners in the studio and things.
And I think that's it. As I've said from the beginning since I've arrived here, that I want to be really visible and really accessible. Like I will talk to anyone, and you know, I really believe in transparency as well. So we've been trying to be really open with all staff about where we are, what our finances look like, where we are in terms of business planning. We're just about to sort of go through another cycle of looking at our sort of business plan over the next 3 years, and we're looking at pulling together an internal reference group. So some of the people that might not usually get a chance to be involved in that can have a kind of first-hand interaction with me and some of the other kind of senior team here. So I think it is about just like looking around you and seeing how much there is to learn from the people around you. That's kind of, for me, that's how good communication should work, really.
And I also like what you do there in terms of when something comes out or you release some new news or you do anything is totally Storyhouse branded. So we also talk about consistency in comms, externally and internally. It's great. People can immediately see where the message is coming from. It's you guys. It's your tone of voice. It's your branding. So I know that you also do that really well there. So I mean, you've touched on this, how you motivate volunteers. How do you actually recruit volunteers? Is that sort of just community sort of outreach or?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the beginning there was a lot of work done to obviously build that volunteer base, lots of open days, drop in, sessions for people that are interested. But it's almost like a rolling program now because people are really keen to volunteer here. So there's an expression of interest form on our website all the time that people can complete. So we've got a kind of pool of people, and then when we're looking to recruit, so often ahead of our open air theatre season in the park in the summer, or at Christmas when we have a whole run of shows and we want to kind of boost the volunteer numbers so nobody has to sit through the same show like 20 times.
Yeah.
Then we can go to that pool and look to recruit from them. So it's a lighter touch way of recruiting than we would maybe from member staff, although obviously we still undertake, so we still take up references and do the kind of DBS checks and things. But it's a less formal way, we'll sit down and chat to people rather than it be a very sort of formal process.
Yeah.
But we have people volunteering to do lots of different things in different ways. So, we were talking about this earlier in the week. We often think about our volunteers as being the people in the stripy t-shirts that check tickets and look after customers when they come to shows. But we have volunteers that help with shelving books in the library. We have volunteers that help in our costume department. We have volunteers that work on quite a lot of our festivals. So festivals that people will see here during the year, like Storyhouse Women and Storyhouse Queer, Storyhouse Childless, that they are kind of curated and led with support from our team by people from across those communities who are volunteering in order to kind of influence the program here and make sure the work is kind of relevant to them and people who identify in the same way as them. So there's a whole range of different ways that people kind of support us through giving their time and expertise, and we could not function without them.
That's amazing. And I think it is down to the fact as well that you have a very trusted brand. you've been consistent, from the years I've known that the Storyhouse has been open, very consistent in your messaging and always looking to improve and evolve. And I think the trust element there is like goes back to you talking about being transparent and transparency. And I know other organisations that obviously do the volunteering really well, like the National Trust. We're National Trust members, and we'll go around with our kids, and these volunteers are so passionate about talking to you about their particular passion for a particular location or a room in a house, and then you've got obviously Chester Zoo that do it really well as well, and everybody. But it is down to, I think, them wanting to go and work for that brand because they trust them. They want to volunteer their time to something they really believe in because it's a great cause. So no, it's amazing that you've got like a bank of people waiting to be part of it.
All of the staff here work across all of the events that we do. Alex is the person that particularly deals with kind of businesses and groups that are looking to kind of hire space here. But I think for me, it's really important that it's not that actually you do get access to that expertise, because we actually value all of the different ways that Storyhouse is used. So if someone's having a business event here, if we've got a community group coming in, if we've got a school coming in to do a performance, if we've got a touring comedian coming to perform, all of those things, a film screening in the cinema, a children's activity in the library, all of those things are part of what makes Storyhouse really special, and we kind of value them all in the same way. So that's why we like our staff teams to work across all of those events, because then they're getting that reward, I guess, that first-hand experience of making people happy, giving people a good time, putting on a really professional business event. So we're definitely open for business. We've just been licensed for weddings. Didn't quite manage to pull off the coup of getting the Society of the Wedding of the Year here last week.
No.
But yeah, we've just got our wedding license, so really interested in people that might want to have a slightly different kind of wedding. We're obviously not your sort of standard wedding venue, so definitely open for business, and such admirers of B Corps as a organisation, and really exciting if this area has nearly hit that threshold, because we definitely see you as being like-minded businesses. Obviously, we're a registered charity. We're here for the benefit of the public and local communities, and we really want to be working with businesses that, as we see it, are doing their businesses really well in a really ethical, sustainable way. It feels like our values, really align with yours and your kind of fellow businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head there with the word benefit, because the B Corp is literally means benefit for all, and you guys live and breathe that there at the Storyhouse. Like I said, super inclusive place to come. Like you've already said, people describe it as their safe space. So in terms of alignment, we definitely want to make use of our local community spaces more, and not your typical ones that people would naturally go to. Like you're saying, you're offering weddings, which is amazing. Obviously Chester Zoo offer weddings, and you guys offer alternative, and it's just people who like to do things differently are sort of drawn to those spaces. So that's really exciting.
And I
But
think
thank you so much for chatting with me. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you there. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that, that benefit, we always say, like, even if people just come and buy a cup of coffee here, that's helping benefit someone else, because we will use the money and the profit on that coffee actually to subsidise an activity for someone or make an activity free for someone. So it's a really lovely kind of circular economy of benefit in that sense.
Yeah, I love that. You're very lucky to all work there. I'm very jealous.
I feel very lucky. I really do, especially being so new here. It's been a fantastic place to come and work and live as well. I've been made really welcome. So
Yeah, amazing. And also, you reminded me when we met last time about membership and signing up. And I noticed from your website that you do also do like corporate memberships as well.
yeah, absolutely. So we have a number of corporate members, different scales of membership, obviously offering genuine benefits to you as a business if you sign up. And those packages can be tailored depending on what people are looking for. And then individual members, which again, you get discounts and benefits, but also know that you're helping us help other people in terms of what we do and the impact we make.
I love that because it is a different, sometimes I have clients come to me, they've not chosen a particular charity for the year. They've come to it quite late on in the year and they don't know what to do. They've got some kind of budget to put towards something. But so to know that there are different kind of options than just sending some money over to a charity where actually you can get involved and be part of it. And, perhaps even, people from the organisation put their names down to volunteer and do some of their volunteering days with you. So it's a great alternative to just, oh, we'll send some money to this charity.
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity to see it in action in a way. You can support a particular activity, or have your brand associated with an element of our program, but then you can come and see it. You can actually come and see the event or see the people benefiting from it. So it sort of makes it a bit more meaningful, I think, in a way.
Yeah,
Which is not to say that other charities aren't doing amazing work, but
absolutely.
if people are looking for something a bit different, then we're really
Yeah.
happy to chat to anyone.